Good morning. My name's Tyler. This is Foregone Trails, and it's another rig I dig. I'm here this morning. This is Jared, my brother.
Long time no see. Well, maybe long time no see. I don't know when the last video was I was in.
I don't know what the last video was they watched either.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Nobody's really asked for it, but I'm giving it to you guys. This is my brother's 1971 Jeepster Commando. This is the first one that kind of started the headache with the family. And by headache, just like a really poor addiction. And we've never really recovered, so.
Hey, if you spend all your money on Jeeps, you don't have money for anything else. It's a good habit to have.
How did you get this Jeepster? I would love to hear your opinion on how this became yours.
So I got this Jeep probably my sophomore year of high school. I had a very gracious older brother that happened to loan me his Cherokee after one of my vehicles went down, to which I said, this Cherokee's crap and I'm going to sell it.
I let him sell it.
Yeah, he let me sell it.
Yeah.
So we sold the Cherokee, and then I spent probably 3 months trying to find a Commando. Finally found one in Colorado with a rebuilt engine and all sorts of fun stuff, but pretty much just stock. Looked like a little bit of a turd. Had some bullet holes in the side of the door, lots of Bondo. Took her home, and then that's pretty much how I got it.
Yeah.
And then it broke down like 2 months later because they didn't actually put oil in the engine, and I forgot to check after buying it. So a little bit of a problem.
So then Dad was like, oh, this is now mine and I'm gonna restore it and do stuff, right? And so he probably took the next 3 years blowing it all apart, painting the frame, painting the tub. This is like an Empire Blue poly color is what they call it. So it looks really good.
Patina right now.
Yeah, Jared left it in Arizona for a few years, so it's definitely nice and kind of patinaed, worn out. But you know, it's still a really cool Jeep. He restored the whole thing kind of, and then you bought it back, right?
Yep,
Yeah, it's mine.
Being a broke high school student, couldn't afford to work on it. He did everything, and then I said, hey, I now have money, I'm gonna buy this back from you. So I got a hell of a deal on it.
The other piece was, so when Dad rebuilt it the first time, he left it with the Dauntless in it, right?
Yep.
And was kind of like, oh yeah, let's keep it mostly all original. And then somewhere in there, that motor went bad too, right? Is that what happened?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
So the old man replaced it, put in just the stock Oddfire back in here, and then eventually, whenever I was in Arizona, I was out four-wheeling in the hills, it gave out on me. I started hearing a massive clank in the engine, which is never good, to which my lovely brother convinced me, LS, that's the way to go. It's incredibly easy to fit in here.
Yeah, and everybody said LS was like not any more expensive than just rebuilding the Buick 225, which
That is accurate.
Would you think it was accurate? It was?
When I looked into it, it was about accurate. It was about like a $500 difference.
So if you can do all the labor yourself, all that, I guess it's probably pretty comparable to like a rebuilt motor. I don't know, but we quickly found out like we really weren't ready at that time to do work like this.
No, I was definitely unprepared to be able to do this, especially lived in Phoenix on my own. We had an uncle out there that was helping me out, but we weren't making much ground very quickly and ran into constant just issues trying to figure out how to get this to fit. As you can see, it's kind of a little bit of a snug fit.
So this is a 5.3 LS motor. You know, as you mentioned, he started the project there, brought it to Oklahoma. We had a shop start working on it, and it was like the worst headache in the world, I feel like. Every time was just not.
Yeah, every time we contacted them, for some reason they ran out of money and changed the quote on me. Parts kept costing more and more every week. Not more parts added onto the quote, just they cost more in general. So a little bit of shenanigans in there, along with them just saying that the work that I already did was them. So charging me for that labor.
Well, and then they rewired the entire Jeep, and then when we got it back, every wire in the engine compartment was the color red. So if you guys don't know, that's like really hard to know what anything is when every wire is the same color. So we just last fall went ahead and rewired the entire Jeep. You can see, loomed it up really nice, nicely routed. We used a easy wiring harness, like 12 circuit wiring harness. It worked great. We did the Hydro Boost brakes. We've done the Hydro Boost on all of our Jeeps now. They work really good. Here, come here, I'll show you this trick.
All the fancy stuff's on
I should be
your side.
Interviewing you, but I just know the details. So this right here is actually a line lock. And so that you can see there's a couple wires here, and then those run into a switch inside the cab. And so that's essentially our parking brake for this Jeep. You push the brake pedal in, hit the switch, and the electric keeps the pressure on that front brake line. So the other question I get a lot, and I'll let you kind of just talk to it because I know you can see it, but a lot of times people are like, well, how does it fit? What did you have to do up here to get it to fit? And I mean, so the clearance is pretty close to the back here, but the main piece to make it fit was all right here, right?
Yeah, so and that was probably, I did not measure twice, cut once, probably cut 3 or 4 times to try to get this in to fit. But all you do is remove the shroud, cut back through. I also cut through kind of the cross member down here. As you can see, the lower pulley, whenever we were trying to put it in at the angle we had, kept getting just knocked on it. It wasn't gonna fit, potentially rub. So we ended up cutting that out and then just re-supporting it. But just clearing out this front end shroud is really like the most work you have to do. We didn't have to do any adjustment in the back with the
firewall. Yeah. And then trimming the headlight bezels was like the other piece. You can kind of see looking around the hoses there. There's usually like a bucket that comes out, but those fit pretty nice. Like just trimming off that back piece.
And that was a super simple, like just a couple cuts and then everything could kind of nest in here. Originally when I was putting this in, I actually didn't have a radiator chose out, so that also was a little bit tricky because I was like, I don't know how much size I need to cut out. I think there was a couple other options that are a little bit skinnier where you may be able to save the headlight buckets, but this is what we ended up going with.
So then it's just an electric fan, get rid of the mechanical fan, everything's kind of on a switch.
Yep, and then also pro tip, if you are doing this, I did not realize this, but I kept overheating constantly, could not figure it out to save my life. All it took was a little bit more Googling than I was doing and realized you actually have to burp your radiator.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
You actually have to burp your radiator because if not, you're just gonna be overheating this motor constantly.
Yeah, so, had a little bit of air trapped in the radiator, so we solved that and that fixed that.
Yeah, drove from Colorado to Oklahoma with about 89 stops due to overheating, so.
Okay. Okay, so then up front, let's see, stock bumper, little valence. When we redid the paint and everything, we actually did like a body matched Raptor liner bed liner for the grill and kind of around the trim here. I think that's pretty nice. We just installed these recovery hooks right before Moab. That was just kind of like let's try to do that.
Yeah, we were taking them to Moab and we weren't confident after the last route.
Yeah. We've got a 4-inch just Jeepsters lift.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Shocks are dead.
Shocks are dead. They need new shocks. You know, that's fine. All in due time.
Something else we did too, forgot to touch on it with the engine, but the low profile oil pan. When we were going to Moab, we did swap that out to low profile oil pan. The problem right now is that the drive shaft actually hits right on the drain plug. So
we'll have to pull that and re-weld and do some stuff.
little hiccup there, but aside from that, like that actually makes it a lot cleaner and level because it was sitting a little low previously.
Yeah, and let's see, what's the front axle?
Ooh, don't know.
So the front axle is a Dana 30.
There we go.
Out of a Jeep CJ. That was another gift to my brother after this was one I installed on my yellow Jeep before it was yellow, and then before I installed different axles, did a bunch of stuff, but basically this fit, I mean, it's the same width as the stock, but you get the disc brakes, it bolts right in. So anybody looking for an upgrade for disc brakes, Dana 30, narrow track up front. With the 4-inch lift, we installed a drop pitman arm. There you go, that's the outside. Let's come inside. So interior wise, let's see, best top seats.
Yep, Amazon special steering wheel.
It's nice, wood grain. Wood grain gripping.
Good enough.
That's something. It looks good.
Good enough.
Good enough.
No horn hooked up. I guess with that steering wheel, I didn't put in the spring originally, and when it was wired, it just screamed constantly. So
you like get rid of it. And then we did what do they call these gauges? Do you know?
No, I can't remember what brand those gauges are.
It says Speed Hut, maybe.
I was about to say we've had them for a long time, but it is pretty nice because it's actually based off of GPS
like a GPS speedometer.
So, which makes things very nice, especially because every other Jeep I've owned, you can never tell if you're actually going the correct speed limit or not.
What a lot of people like is that we kept the kind of stock gauge switch piece here, but then we replaced it with rocker switches, and then all of your stuff's kind of right there. I think that's
that's at the time when we were putting that in, I think the 3 switch modules that we already have, or that we have in place in here, like we already had that at home, and I was like, I don't want to buy a whole new bracket or make anything, so we just remodified what was already there. Plus, I think it just goes really well with the dash because I tried keeping that as stock as possible. I even have the old radio hanging out in there.
You got to be careful with touching a stock dash because then it just ruins the whole build, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, at least that's what I'm told on the most recent one. I don't know, who knows. Transmission?
AX15.
Okay, and behind that?
Something 20.
Dana 20.
Woohoo!
The big piece there with the Dana 20 is that the U-shift pattern, you basically had to hack it up to get it to fit, right?
Yes.
Like,
with the adapters that we use for the LS, they suggest that you switch to actually a dual stick setup. I did not have a dual stick setup. He sent me one.
He's got one now.
Yeah, I got one now, but
I haven't installed it yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. So so rather than doing the dual stick at the time, since I didn't have one, I had the brilliant idea of I'll just cut off like the front half of the housing for the U-shaped pattern and the current one that we have in place, and it works fine for the most part. It's a little hard to get it in the gears. It knocks a little bit against the adapter, I think, sometimes keeping it from shifting, but aside from that, everything else is perfect. It's now my cruiser anyway, so I don't need 4-low or anything fancy like that nowadays.
Got the little sports mini built roll bar, the headliner that we did on a different video.
Yep.
So.
I think we got the roll bars for super cheap. We got a couple of them at the time and just threw one in.
We've gone through so many of these. So. Stock dash pad. So the other thing people ask are the mirrors. I think these mirrors are okay if they were maybe like stock YJ, because I think they're off of YJ, right, or something.
Yeah.
And we just use the nut certs here, but you can tell they're really flimsy, like they don't really stay secure. So I think it's just the brand maybe or something, but.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the brand. No matter how many times I tighten it, within a day, it's right back to the way it is. So I just decided I'm not using mirrors anymore. I think that's what Doc said to Marty McFly when he took off. We know where we were going, we don't need mirrors. Something along those lines.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where we're going. We don't need mirrors.
Why look at the past when you can go there, right?
Man, we should write a movie. I think we could do it. 32, 11.5, 15 wheels and tires. Got the big difference with that is we did have to add like a 1/4-inch spacer, right? Because they rub the leaf springs, and then they also, with that spacing, kind of want to rub right here. So if you're doing a 4-inch lift like this, if you have the stock wheels, I think a 33 10.5 is really the better move, right?
Yeah, go 33 for sure. I like the wider look, so everyone advised me against going with these just because it will rub, and then I didn't listen, and now I kind of regret not going to the 33, so that would have stuffed a lot better.
In the back here, we kind of made a custom tire carrier with just a bunch of scrap I had around. Need to rework some of the mounting for the stock bumper to get it to actually sit right again, but you know, it tucks in pretty nice. The taillights, this is something a lot of people like. I did a whole video on this too because I did it on the Krusty Commando, but you know, the square headlights with reverse lights, like that. And then the aero tank underneath, it's like a 20-something gallon tank. So
yeah, 20-gallon tank.
Yeah.
If I were to redo it, just because we're using an external fuel pump, I would swap. They sell one that comes with an internal. I've had a lot of just kind of issues with how ours is mounted and getting the right pressure. So wish I would have gone a little bit extra on that one.
Overall, that's the whole Jeep. Let's see, Jared, is there anything else that you would change on this, or like advice that you would give somebody that was wanting to build something that looks a little similar?
Advice to anyone that's trying to build something similar.
More Oakley stickers?
That's Oregon. Oregon. I got this from Oregon. Okay,
hey, that was there when it was there. You know, we didn't install that. That was a pre-installed custom application. Yeah.
If I were to give any suggestions, definitely do what any adapter kits tell you to do. That makes your life a little bit easier. Follow the correct instructions. Don't try to redneck it. As well as do as much of the work on your own, because I mean, Tyler's done a lot of work on here for me, or with me, I should say. Usually I pawn it off, I'm like, hey, I'm out of town, you do this. And just the interaction with the shop on that LS, it would have been a lot easier if we did it ourselves correctly the first time.
Or find like a reputable shop, right?
Yes.
Like when you drop it off at a field back shop of some guy's yard, it's probably not the best.
Yeah, it's probably not the best choice. So. Knowing that they've only worked on like one or two.
Right, well, I mean, that was piece, like, it was a reputable shop. Like, they built a really popular, like, probably one of the best known Jeepsters that's out there. I'm not gonna say who it is, but you'll probably, if you do enough digging, you would know. I mean, they built that one, we're like, oh, they built that one, they're gonna do great work on this one, and whatever it was, you know, it was like that was almost just a one-off.
Yeah, it seemed like the mechanics had changed since then. Same shop owner, and He
but
was a
different
super
location
nice guy.
and
Yeah.
different stuff. So just be aware, do some due diligence when you're looking for a shop to do all the work. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed checking out my brother's 1971 Jeepster Commando, the one that really started it all for the entire family, the first kind of build that we did. And you know, I'm assuming this thing will be around for quite a while. If there's anything we missed, make sure to leave some comments for questions and I'll make sure to answer them. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.